Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the Monday, January 13th, 2025 meeting of the Jersey Village City Council. The time is now 7 o'clock p.m. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum of council present?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. Next up, our invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Stephanie Otto, commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion, Post 324.
Please uncover. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have a couple presentations. The first is presentation of Police Department Employee of the Fourth Quarter and 2024 Employee of the Year Award by Stephanie Otto, commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay. Each quarter, the American Legion Post 324 Jersey Village Police Department Employee of the Quarter Selection Committee meet to review a list of candidates selected by their peers. This is in no way a simple task, as all employees of the department are outstanding individuals that serve a purpose greater than themselves. For the fourth quarter of 2024, the American Legion selection of the Officer of the Quarter is Officer Iris Ortiz. Officer Ortiz has shown a high level of professionalism, dedication, and productivity. She loves her job, and her work performance shows it. We thank you for your service and dedication to the department and the community. All these attributes work together to ensure that the Jersey Village Police Department works smoothly and provides our residents peace of mind and makes Jersey Village a destination community. Many other officers were nominated this quarter. Thank you for your continued performance and dedication to our community. Officer Ortiz. Throughout the year, this committee receives countless nominations from within the Jersey Village Police Department, in which fellow officers highlight their peers for many reasons. Each quarter we convene and discuss each nominee and what makes an employee stand out one from another. All of the nominations are great nominations, and it's truly humbling to read and discuss each one of them. All of the employees of the Jersey Village Police Department serve a position that comes with so much weight, and our utmost respect and appreciation is extended to them as a whole. Employee of the Year is a selection from the 4 employees of the quarter of that year. Within the nomination, we consider each position served, each performance of that position, and the impact made by the employee within the department, the city, and ultimately the residents and the businesses within the community. With that said, American Legion Jersey Village Police Department Employee of the Selection for 2024 is Detective Aaron Polster. Thank you for all you do for our department and the city. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
All right, congratulations to both of those officers. Definitely appreciate our Jersey Village Police Department. The next presentation we have is presentation of Employee of the Month Award for January 2025 to Sergeant Devron Limerick.
Mayor and councilors, our January 2025 Employee of the Month is Sergeant Devron Limerick. Sergeant Limerick is a sergeant in our Criminal Investigations Division in the Police Department and is celebrating his 15-year anniversary with us this month. Sergeant Limerick has demonstrated exceptional dedication, diligence, and professionalism in his role with the JVPD, and his recent work highlights his commitment to protecting our community. On November 26th, Sergeant Limerick was instrumental in resolving a complex skimming case involving compromised City of Jersey Village Exxon cards. Through his thorough investigation, he identified and apprehended the suspect responsible for unauthorized purchases of hundreds of gallons of diesel fuel. His work included obtaining and executing a search warrant in coordination with Harris County District Attorney's Office. During the search, him and his team uncovered significant evidence, including over 13 pounds of marijuana, a dismantled skimmer recording device, shredded credit card and debit cards, counterfeit currency, and electronic components used in fraudulent activities. His meticulous efforts led to felony charges of possession of marijuana and unlawful use/possession of a criminal instrument being accepted by the Harris County DA. His actions not only brought the suspect to justice, but also safeguarded the city and its residents from further financial harm. His ability to manage complex cases with precision and care is a testament to his skill and dedication. His work exemplifies the values of integrity and professionalism that we strive for in our community, and it is a privilege to honor him as our Employee of the Month. Sergeant Limerick. Thanks so much. Do you want your book?
All right, congratulations once again. That's fantastic. That brings us to our citizen comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, unless the subject matter of this comment is on the agenda, the City staff and City Council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policies. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to the City Council. And we have one comment card from Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. Lordy, lordy, it's my 40th Jersey Village installment, and can you believe 2004 was 21 years ago? The year teed off with a drainage project recommendation for the Jersey Meadow Golf Course to have a berm built around to control for the overflow of rainwater onto Rio Grande and Village Drive. It just so happens that this month's Jersey Village Star's top story highlights winning the 2024 Parks and Natural Area Award for the innovative berm project's exceptional example of how parks and natural areas can enhance water quality, preserve habitat, and improve quality of life for residents. For greater detail, the berm project was designed to retain water that falls onto the course and also remove water from the Wall Street neighborhood by pumping the storm water to the golf course when the bayou levels rise, while contributing to the beauty of the course and offer a better experience for golfers and visitors, while balancing flood mitigation, recreation, and environmental stewardship. Along with having a delicious lunch and dinner at the locally owned and operated Little Meadow Kitchen and Cocktails, you can watch the sunset through the oak trees. A safety audit of Carol Fox Park by Environments and Company occurred under the guidelines of America's Playground Safety Report Card, with a particular note of being 1 point from a failing grade. The Parks and Landscaping Committee recommendations included replacing the large structure with polywood, replace the tire swing with flatwood, make repairs to Calvin's Cruiser, install signs on the street and in the park, replace fall surface materials, and install a split rail fence around the perimeter of the park with shrubs. Meetings with the original park committee led to goals of keeping the unique style of the park while replacing the current play structures, including fall surfaces, swings, playhouses, and drainage. The city manager's report included the White Oak Hike and Bike Trail, which would begin at the Ecuador Bridge and run along the bayou towards the Jersey Village Corporate Center property, with the help from Harris County Precinct 4. The Solomon elevated storage tank needed to be repainted to correct the city and high school's logos locations. Approval was given to the dedication of an easement to Harris County for the installation and maintenance of a traffic signal at Jones Road and Jersey Meadow Drive. The Parks and Landscaping Committee was thanked for their hard work regarding the Insurance Services Office, ISO, meeting for a possible reduction in insurance rates for property owners. A proclamation supporting the Great American Cleanup to improve the quality of community life and involve its citizens to participate, contributing to the emotional, physical, and economic well-being in the effort of beautifying and cleaning up the city by reducing trash. Subsequently, Councilmember Wadicki announced that Jersey Village won third place out of 338 cities in this competition of the Governor's Community Achievement Award, a Gold Star affiliate, and an award for excellence. An interlocal agreement with Harris County was unanimous to extend Jones Road from 290 to 529. Proclamations were also announced for National Make a Difference Day and Texas Recycles Day to promote responsible environmental stewardship and volunteer service in the community. A homeowner on Village Drive stated concerns of two-wheeled vehicles on the road and repainting the no passing strip on Village Drive from Rio Grande to the 290 feeder road. An ordinance was unanimously passed to confirm the city's intent to accept and maintain Dillard Drive as a public street and acknowledge the revisions in the right-of-way. Courtney Rutherford was appointed Assistant City Secretary, and we are excited for her to now take Lori's reins. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Greatly appreciate that. Okay, those are all the citizen comments that we have, which brings us to the city manager's report. Austin, please.
Mayor and councilors, the reports before you I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I do want to point out that the golf course in fiscal year 24 had a record year, but however, for the first 3 months of this fiscal year, we're at $788,000. Comparing that to the first 3 months of last year, we're roughly $147,000 ahead of where we were at this point last year. So last year was record-breaking, and we're on a good pace for this year as well.
Great news. Any questions from council for the city manager?
Yeah, Austin, I know the Comprehensive Plan Committee, speaking of forward-looking, had a survey out. Is that now closed?
I believe so, but I haven't checked.
Okay. Try to promote its being open, because I know they meet again on February 11th. Maybe it's the 12th. But it's on the city calendar, so.
Any other questions for the city manager from city council? No? Okay. Then we will move along. That brings us to the consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration during the regular agenda?
Can we take off F4, please?
Okay. F4 will be considered at the top of the regular agenda. If there are no other items to be removed, I would entertain a motion on the modified consent agenda.
I move that we approve the modified consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The consent agenda passes unanimously, or the modified consent agenda passes unanimously, which brings us to the item that was F4, consider resolution number 2025-03, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a contract with Half Associates for the completion of a Safe Streets for All action plan. Austin Blease.
Mayor and Councilors, we recently went out for RFP for the services to assist in drafting the Safe Streets for All action plan. This is an initiative being funded by a grant we're receiving through the U.S. Department of Transportation. We received 4 proposals, Half Associates, Kimley Horn, TEI Planning Design, and TJKM Transportation Consultants. Since this is an engineering service, we can't base our award on price. State law mandates we select the most qualified firm and then negotiate the contract with them. The final action plan has 8 different components that it has to be a part of, and we'll go through that whole process over the next year or so. The consultant selected will be responsible for developing the project approach and work plan and making sure that the components necessary are part of that work plan. The proposals were evaluated on 4 criteria by 3 staff members: their experience in grant administration, environmental consulting, their experience in the Safe Streets for All program, understanding the project requirements and proposed approach, qualifications of the project team, and then past performance on similar projects. We ranked them all. Half Associates was the highest average ranking at 91.3. The next closest was 88.7. And using the total points, Half Associates received 274 out of 300. The next closest was 266. So based upon these rankings, staff recommends Half Associates be selected and authorize the city manager to negotiate a contract with them. That contract would come back to council at the February meeting. So this action tonight is simply to authorize the negotiation, selecting them, authorize the negotiation for the contract, which would come back next month.
Okay, discussion amongst council on this item.
Yeah, Austin, I probably should have asked earlier because I think we discussed this grant before, but what exactly is the scope of the Safe Streets?
So the Safe Streets for All program the main goal is to eliminate traffic deaths in communities. So things that can make the roadways safer, pedestrian access safer, those types of things. Making sure that you're taking into consideration community needs for where they need to go, want to go, and how they can get there safely. The end goal of this, the end product of this will be a plan that would have recommendations that could be implemented if the city wanted to help make the roads and that traveling network safer. That plan would also open up the opportunity for us to apply for future grants to fund the construction programs that would be identified.
So this could include additional parking to avoid street parking or additional roads being recommended. Not that we'd ever execute that, but
right. Anything that could make the traveling roadways safer, or so extending roads, widening them, sidewalks, other trails, perhaps. The bollards. There's a wide variety of things that will be looked at, and it's kind of up to the committee or the residents to voice their opinions, and then everything would come back to the council before any plan was finalized and with recommendations.
Any other discussion amongst council on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion on the resolution.
Motion that we approve Resolution 2025-03.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. That brings us to item G1. Consider ordinance number 2025-01, ordering a general election to be held on May 3rd, 2025 for the purpose of electing a mayor and electing 2 council members for places 2 and 3. Calling a special election to be held May 3rd, 2025 for the purpose of submitting to the voters propositions to amend the City of Jersey Village City Charter regarding Section 301 related to elections and Section 505 related to the office of the City Secretary. Authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into a joint election agreement with Harris County to conduct the elections on behalf of the City of Jersey Village, designating the places and manner of holding the elections, providing for the posting and publication of notice, providing for a runoff election if required, providing a savings clause, providing an open meetings clause, and providing an effective date. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and Councilors, the general election for the city will be held May 3rd, 2025 for the purpose of electing a mayor and 2 councilors. Deadline for filing on the ballot is February 14th, and the deadline for ordering the election is also February 14th. In addition to the general election, the city is considering ordering a special election for May 3rd to submit to the voters proposed amendments to the city charter. Proposition A would be regarding elections. Proposition B would be regarding the city secretary. However, during the last few meetings, if council would recall, council had detailed discussions concerning the amendments to the charter related to the regular elections. Because the council was unable to reach a decision concerning this amendment, council asked staff to review charters from other cities that mention election integrity. Accordingly, City Attorney Justin Pruitt conducted a review of other charters, was unable to find any mention of election integrity or similar ideas. Nonetheless, he suggests, based upon comments of the mayor, a few phrases that could be added to Section 3.01 that could get to the election integrity issue that the Charter Commission discussed. First one would be, unless otherwise directed by the council and only as allowed by applicable law for all city-run elections, the election judge shall not direct the counting of ballots until all polls have closed. The other option would be, the election judge shall ensure that for a city-run election, such election shall adhere to all applicable laws protecting the integrity of the election. Option 3, the council may, by ordinance in accordance with applicable law for a city-run election, require that the election judge shall not direct the counting of ballots until all polls have closed. So the city manager also did some research, including MuniCode, and asking out to my network on the International City Management Association if anybody in their charters had election integrity things. Nobody had anything. I could not find anything in MuniCode. There were some city ordinance, however not in Texas, that did spell out counting of votes. However, no mentions of how the ballots should be counted were found in city charters. As it relates to the potential changes to Section 5.05, cities in the region approach the city secretary's duties and reporting structures in various ways. For example, West University Place has similar language to what is being proposed, while others, like Deer Park and Bel Air, retain their language closer to what we have today. Additionally, cities such as Tomball and Sugar Land have the city secretary appointed by and reporting to the city manager. There are several variations of how the duties are assigned to a city secretary in Texas, with cities free to tailor their approach to meet their needs. So for your review tonight, 3 versions of the ordinance calling the election are included in the meeting packet. Exhibit A contemplates both proposed charter amendments and a general election. Exhibit B has only one charter amendment and a general election. And Exhibit C contemplates only the general election. So for the Exhibit A version that contemplates both, it is set up with the language exactly as the Charter Commission recommended. If the council wants to move forward with adjusting language to the provision related to election integrity, then it can use any language it sees fit, as long as the ordinance is adjusted to match the council's suggestion. Once again, we don't have to adopt anything tonight. Our next meeting is February 10th. We don't have to call the election until February 14th. So if council chooses not to pass this tonight, they have time to do so later on.
Okay. Discussion amongst council on this item.
I think we talked about it ad nauseum in the previous meeting. My personal viewpoint on the election integrity wording is that it has no place in the city charter. That should we want to do something like that it needs to be a part of an ordinance, not a part of the charter. And then as per Lori's feedback to us in the previous meeting, I don't know that the change in language regarding to her position gives us any benefit one way or the other. So I think we're just throwing money after something that we don't really have a significant issue that needs to be resolved at this time.
Just to clarify, we already are calling an election, correct?
Correct, but just the added extra administration on the propositions that need to be on there.
Gotcha.
So
but the main cost will already be there, right? Because of the election itself. Like adding other propositions is not a significant excessive cost.
No, it's just translations and other administration, I think.
There will be additional costs for a charter amendment election. It is considered a special election, so it's separate from the general election. The costs that you will incur will be the translation costs, as well as the amounts that the Harris County will charge for the different propositions that are on there. So each race, if you will, or each contest costs money, and then and a charter amendment election does need to be posted in the Houston Chronicle for 2 consecutive times, whereas the general election only has to go 1, so there will be additional publication costs for that. Publication costs will probably run about $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the length of the notice for each week. And then translation costs will probably run in the neighborhood of maybe $300 to $400.
Well, I wasn't here last month. Sorry about that. But I tend to agree with Sherry. I just feel like I appreciate the input from Justin. There's no pressing legal or procedural gap that would warrant the changes. And it seems possibly redundant and unnecessary because the election's already governed by state and federal law. And if we're in compliance, it's similar to other cities and it's an extra cost. It just feels like we're fixing a problem that we don't really have, and at the expense of additional time, which I understand doesn't necessarily have a monetary value, but it does. If you're keeping people here who are volunteering or being paid at the election and they can't start until much later, you're asking for a significant commitment change at a reason that doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. But thank you.
I mean, I'll tell you guys that personally, I don't like my own personal opinion on it with the election stuff is that I don't think it's the best idea. However, I do think that we did send it to the committee, to the Charter Review Committee, for them to come up with their proposed changes, and that these are their proposed changes that they voted on. My thoughts on that is that we let people take a vote, and let citizens feel on that. I don't necessarily think, that's one of the biggest complaints you get from people always about why can't we vote on it? Why can't we vote on it? And Bobby's response has always been through this, since I've known Bobby, is if you don't like it, change the charter. Right? I feel like that's some verbatim use there. If you don't like it, change the charter. So you do have a group of citizens that we all chose to represent the Charter Review Committee submitting suggestions for that. And then to me, it feels like we are making the decision to not let them have that voice and to not have that choice. I just feel like to me, I feel like that I owe it to the citizens to let them have that choice on that, regardless of how I don't think the voting thing is. I personally don't care for it. I think it's fine as long as we're in state, like you're saying.
I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate the committee and their ideas, but then the ideas go through legal and all of historic data of the state and then comparing to other charters. So I feel like it is one piece of an intricate decision, and it's not like, this committee said this and we squashed it. Please don't think that is anything what I am saying. I'm saying you have an idea. Okay, let's bring it to legal. Let's bring it to what's going on in other cities. Okay, let's think about the cause and effect and the domino of all of this. What is the legal ramifications? What's really necessary? And then let's make a uniform decision based on all of that. So I don't really feel like I'm squashing any ideas of a committee. I think that is a necessary first step for an educated decision. And then I also wanted just to make another mention, because this has happened in the time that I've been on council, at least twice maybe. But if for whatever reason we don't draw an opponent and all of the places are uncontested, it guarantees an election no matter what. That's happened historically here a couple times, so it would also just be another unnecessary giant cost. So once again, I feel like we're fixing a problem that doesn't really seem to have a significant impact or
I'm more concerned about the unintended consequences that may come from it that we would have to live with for 2 years. Yeah. Versus with the city ordinance, if it doesn't work out as it was intended to work out, we can easily change it without costing the city additional monies to run another charter election. That's where I'm at. Is I don't know that we as a council fully appreciate all of the consequences that will come along with this, and as the charter committee as well, I'm not sure that all of the unintended consequences were fully thought through and considered. as I mentioned in the last meeting, regardless of how we do this, there's going to be people that complain both ways about, wrongs that perceived or real. So I just don't know that we need to really complicate things by muddying our charter with something like this.
I do want to quickly jump in here since I was paraphrased earlier. There are ways, and I have many times said, if you don't like the way your government operates in terms of the basic structure, citizens should seek to change the charter. There are two ways to change the charter. There is one way which circumvents council entirely. You go out and collect petitions, get 5% of the eligible voters to sign that petition, and that automatically guarantees that it gets put on the charter. The other way that you can modify a charter is by going through a means that involves council. So in our charter, we do have a charter commission that reviews possible proposed changes and then presents that to council. I don't think we should. I think we set a dangerous precedent if we are saying that at any time that council is explicitly invoked to make a decision, that we should rubber stamp what has been presented to us. Because just simply the fact that the Charter Commission presents an idea to us does not mean that we should reflexively give it to voters. The whole reason why we're involved in this type of proposal is because we do have an obligation to exercise our discretion as elected officials to evaluate the proposal and make a decision one way or another. Now, if citizens disagree with that, they do have an option that they can use in order to put it on the charter. So I'm there's always that option. But I think that if we simply say, without even looking, saying we're going to put it on the ballot just because it was proposed, I think that's a bad idea all the way around.
I just want to make another point. If you think of the committee and the amount of time that they were able to sit and digest and talk about this, we would have had to have that up here. We don't get to have that same conversation, sidebar somewhere. So one of the other very big values of having a committee is to get a lot of the brainstorming, problem-solving ideas. Otherwise, these meetings would be 15 hours long. So you do some of the legwork, thankfully, appreciatively for us, so then we can come up here and cohesively decide. So there's just that other component of time that we can't legally have those discussions without being up here on the dais.
I'll piggyback on that. I think there's only one committee. I think it's the Building of a Board of Adjustments, whose decisions and ideas and suggestions and reports do not go to council. And for what it's worth, having us as gatekeepers is what we've been elected for. That said, the idea that we don't get this out to the voters, one is, I think there's a very good reason, is it sets a dangerous, this particular amendment, 3.01, section 3.01, election law is already set by the state. It's set by the federal government, and no other cities have anything like that. And if there were, I'd probably be singing a different tune. But to me, going out on a limb out of 254 counties, out of so many different cities and municipalities and general rule cities in the state of Texas, going out and doing something, that opens us up to potential lawsuits, there's a lot of potential there. If it was an ordinance, it would be easier to, like we said, it would be easier to take back, and I think that's something we should explore before the next municipal election that we host. But I would not want to change the charter until we kind of trial it out there ourselves. Now, I'm going to move to the other thing. To me, I have no problem with amendment suggested for 5.05. I see Councilmember Shepard's idea of there's an extra cost, roughly $2,000 for that. And then for what's the value you're getting out of that, I think it makes somewhat of a difference. Other cities have already done that. So I'd be in favor of actually sending that out to a vote, but not necessarily the other one.
I'll have to. I agree with my colleagues up here. I think I was more leaning on let's let the citizens vote, give them the option to tell us how they want it structured. But the Texas Election Code is really, really long. It's very detailed, and Lori spent quite a bit of time explaining to us what that day looks like. And I mean, even so much as like folding them or unfolding them or stacking them or something. It was very detailed I think the state's got it right. And us poking around with it when other cities aren't really doing that, that's what kind of caught my attention. So I really do appreciate the Charter Review Committee, and I'm kind of there with Shepard. You're right. Sorry, I'm used to doing the last name. Shep. No, I don't want to. There's a problem or a perceived problem. Which one is this? And I don't want to create more problems down the road. And I think Texas got this right. And this took me. I spent a lot of time looking into this, researching this, thinking about this, because voting and election integrity is very important, and it's a serious thing. And I just think an ordinance is the better way to go as well.
On Section 505, I would agree with, which would be Proposition B. I would agree with Drew. I think we need to change that to align with what the job, what the nature of the job truly is. I do think that is important that we get that we do that.
And I'm fine with that one. That one.
I'm okay with that one, as long as we're okay with spending the additional monies.
I just think that's something that we need to vote on to be corrected.
Okay. It sounds like at least we have a majority, if not a consensus. It sounds like council is leaning towards going with, I think it's the Exhibit B out of the different options. I just want to double check and make sure. Okay. So the Exhibit B to this agenda item contains a complete ordinance in which only the proposed modification to Section 5.05 related to the Office of City Secretary is on the ballot for the special election.
I have a quick question. What did you say the cost would be associated with this? Did someone just say there was a
believe, and Lori, correct me if my understanding was it was an additional $2,000 to add on the special election versus only having the general election?
Yeah, it would be the publication cost, which will probably run about $2,000. Well, I said actually $1,000 to $1,500 per week. So we're talking maybe about $3,000 for publication costs, and then your translation costs of about $300, and then whatever the county's going to charge us for that particular contest on their ballot.
Then I still think we should go with Exhibit C. Then I don't. If it was a no nonsense, like we could just amend or create an ordinance, but I still think
You're saying no election, special election.
Doesn't make sense to me.
You guys had a special election before to change pronouns. Yes. So to me, but the thing is, this is somebody's. So here's the thing: this describes somebody's job, and while it works perfectly great with Austin, in this position. I don't think we should have a charter. I don't think we should have something on the charter in place because we're comfortable with a person in a position that could change. So the thing is taking out city manager in there, to me, protects that position and keeps that position, the city secretary position, as answering to council and to no one else. And I do think that is crucial to the integrity of the position. So to me, it's not just about omitting 2 words. That's about keeping that job as what that job was intended to do. So to me, I think that money is well worth spent.
I hear that. I don't know what the last special election was, if it was just that item or if it was clumped in with many things. I'm not familiar with the last. The last special election?
The last special election had, I think, 4 items, and they were different sections where there were, I think, pronouns, adjustments, and other. There might have been other.
I think there were 7.
Yeah, that was the election that took us till 3 a.m. to count because there were so many things on the ballot. And
to be clear, it was not just pronouns. There was some other cleanup that was being done. But yes, it wasn't a substantive changes that were being made. To the point is they were largely changes to form, cleanup basically.
To correct language. It was language correction and edits. And to me, like this,
it was
this
to
has
take
been overlooked
the masculine
for a while.
out of it and make it more generic, as opposed to everything being he.
Oh, I don't disagree with it. I think it was the right thing to do then as well too. But I think this is the right thing to do because this relates to a position that is intended to report only to council. And like I said, while we have somebody like Austin in place, that's great. And granted, it's something you can always fix. I mean, but it's just as far as if somebody in the position chooses to take advantage. But I just think we're opening there's no reason to let this be inconclusive or to be vague. Like let's fix it.
Oh, wait, 2,000 isn't that much.
What are you talking about?
It's more than that,
right?
But it's closer to 3,000 or 4,000.
But okay, and the problem with that is that the Texas Election Code, as much as we're touting it up here, is somewhat antiquated in terms of its publications. And we can take that up with our state reps and state senator and have them change it over the next 142 days.
I would be okay doing Proposition B. I'd be okay doing Proposition B.
I will say I don't think we shouldn't get too caught up on the cost here. I appreciate the fact that we're looking at that, but I think maybe focusing too much on the cost probably is not really the way to go here. That being said, I'm not sure that the change makes a huge difference. I don't think it's critical at all. I think it does clean it up a little bit, but I think it's. I'm indifferent kind of on this. I think it would be a good thing to clean it up, but I don't think it's something that's super critical.
I land in that vote. I extensively went over why I don't like the other charter amendment, but this one, same thing. I just feel like it's not critical. The language, I know the cleanup was more extensive due to, standardized language across all charters. And even when we explored this in the beginning when this was brought up, we looked at similar cities, and it was still half and half of what this job role does anyway. So if it was something that was like the integrity of that position, but it's a mixed bag of that and the grand scheme of things. So I just didn't feel like it was that.
But it's not, I understand what you're saying. Other cities do it differently, but this job in this city reports only to council. So in other cities, if the job reports to council or to the city manager or somebody else, then theirs would reflect that. But ours, the way it's always been described to us is that the city secretary reports to council.
So I will clarify that it does, like we said in the thing, cities such as West University Place have language like us, while others like Deer Park and Bel Air retain West University Place has language similar to what's being proposed. Deer Park and Bel Air have language closer to what we have today. Deer Park and Bel Air, both city secretaries there, are appointed by the council as well. So it is kind of a mixed bag across at least this small selection of cities as to how that role works and how that wording is in the city charters.
And the way that I understand it is she still reports to us. We still appoint her. Right. It's just that it's giving Austin the flexibility to give her assignments.
Right. But then, but the fact that the charter review committee pointed that, or that's what, 2 words that are crossed out in there? Correct. Okay, so that caught their eye enough. I mean, I know right now we don't have an issue with it, but I think Jennifer has.
Well, and to clarify the previous election, the only reason that wording cleanup was there is because we had to remove the wording related to the red light cameras because they were deemed unlawful. If we hadn't have had that particular one to clean up and take out of the charter, we were not going to mess with the wording of any of the rest of it. It was just, we're going to have an election anyway in order to remove the red light camera language, so we might as well take this opportunity to clean up all of the other language that is antiquated and needs to be updated. In this situation, we don't have to. I mean, we're split. To me, we're splitting hairs. I don't care either way. I bring up the cost because I think everybody needs to be aware of the fact that we're going to spend money to do this. And then the fact that they have to be educated voters and vote the right way. So, there's still a potential that we put it on a ballot, they don't understand it, and they vote against it. Yeah. So we run the risk of wasting that money because they don't vote the way that we think they're going to vote, which is always the risk, right?
Right. I mean, Lori, what do you think?
I think at the end of the day, I believe as city secretary, I report to city council. If I have a problem with the city manager giving me assignments that I don't think I need to be involved in, I will bring that fact to the council. And as my boss, you will tell me what I need to do.
So charter, no charter.
I think that if I'm not saying that the city manager won't be giving me assignments. He's going to be giving me assignments according to the charter. But if I have a problem with that, and I don't think it's something that I need to be doing as city secretary, then my ultimate boss is the council. And the council, I will bring it to their attention and say, hey, do you want me to be doing this? If you do, yes. If you don't, okay, I won't do it. So that's kind of how I look at it. From a reporting standpoint.
So what I'm hearing is, as a practical matter, nothing would be changing about the position, whether we keep the language or change it.
That's correct, because I have to, as a city secretary, work with the city manager very closely, and if I have this amendment and it puts a wall between us, I, as a city secretary, will have a more difficult time doing my job because I'm not going to be working very closely with the city manager and understanding the different issues that the city is facing and working together on those things. That's just how I feel.
So, and unintended consequences of changing that wording right there as well. Fair enough?
That's what I believe.
Impeding workflow. I'm going to stick by my option C.
I guess I just don't understand why it would be an unintended consequence to take away someone's perceived authority that they don't have.
I guess the question would be whether by removing the language, is that going to be inferred by future city secretaries to mean that council does not want the city manager to coordinate with the city secretary regarding tasks? In other words, if before the city secretary could receive tasks from the city manager, and then council, and then by extension citizens if they approve it. Citizens have said that should be removed. Does that then imply that the city manager should not be giving any assignments to the city secretary? I know that's not what we're saying, because if that's what we were saying, we would write that in there in place of that. But I can see where that could be interpreted from if you don't dig into the minutes and figure out what we actually said.
I think that's, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I think what this says right now, I think this gives you two different points of view. It says the city secretary reports to council, and then will perform duties as required by council and the city manager and the charter or the laws. So I think you're telling somebody you work for them, but this is who you're going to get your work from. I think that's convoluted. I think removing this cleans up the language and clarifies that the city secretary works for the city council.
I mean, Lori's been city secretary for 17 years. Unfortunately, this is her last council meeting, and I'll cry in a little bit about that. But I have to trust her expertise in workflow beyond my 3-4 years now. That she is so, literate on all of the rules and laws, and I think if there was even an iota of something that would inhibit her job, she would have been honest about that. And I mean, this is expertise at its finest. So once again, I'm going to further support option C. Exhibit.
And I think it's important to remember that this job isn't always Lori and Austin. That this job is any person that comes in, and any person that comes in may not have that same personality and may not have his same personality. And so if a person comes in and it tells them right here, we're telling them, you report to us. However, this also says you have to take jobs and assignments assigned to you by the city manager.
I think you're looking at the taking jobs as a negative thing, because she didn't bring up personality in any of her answer. She brought up how it was collaborative, and that she saw if she didn't have that in there, it would inhibit her workflow. So I disagree. Personality was nothing to do with that. She was talking about workflow, collaboration, and she did feel like there was a strong checks and balances. And you have to remember, too, that she's training the person next to her, and that will happen in succession forever. So I still think that giving somebody a task is, for some reason, being viewed as negative instead of collaborative. And
I would agree with that. I think you run the risk of not my job description attitude, and you create a toxic work environment and a toxic relationship. Again, it clearly states that she works for us and she reports to us. I think, she understands if there's an issue, she can come to us. And so I agree with Michelle. It's more about working collaboratively with city staff and the city manager, and if there's something that Austin needs Lori to do within, the reason and within, the confines of her job description, and she feels comfortable in doing it, I don't know why we have to tell her she can't.
I think at the top of page 229 in the packet, it's the last sentence that says, other duties required by, and then it's not just a task. It doesn't mention work collaboratively. It's for everybody's best interest that they work collaboratively, city manager and city secretary, and work together. And I think it's the council's responsibility to ensure they do. Or if they don't, it needs to get to the council and work this way. I'm not worried about Lori and Austin, or Courtney and Austin, or Courtney and Austin's children, or whatever. But what my main worry is for the stability of the city 20 years from now, when none of us are up here and none of them are there. I think the job description that more so than what's in the charter, it's not the. I mean, I think we set the expectations, we being whoever's on the council will set the expectations with the city secretary that says, you work with them in the best, and they may have a task for you. And I think that likewise, the city secretary may have tasks for the city manager to, hey, can you see that this gets done? Whatever. And nowhere in here it says other duties required by the city secretary for the city manager. And if it does, I stand corrected. So I think part of this is there's more harm with it being in here than with it not being in there. In my opinion.
And that's what Jennifer was. I'm not.
No, please.
But that's where I was hearing from her was, well, okay, 20 years down the line, if that doesn't come out, this could be an issue somewhere down the line. Obviously not now, but later. That's what I took from it.
I don't see I don't see any harm in letting people vote on it to get it to change. I don't at all.
Okay, I think we've got pretty settled positions here. I would entertain a motion at this point.
I wouldn't even know how to create a motion because do we have to go through each proposition?
No,
I was confused.
I would just, I would say, hold on. Yeah, I would just say I would entertain a motion approving, sorry, I'm scrolling up to this, Ordinance 2025-01 using the draft of the ordinance contained in Exhibit B to the agenda item.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Or if you just want to say, I will make that motion.
I'll make that motion for Proposition B.
Exhibit B. I know.
Exhibit B.
It could get confusing because the exhibit contains propositions. And
I got it.
Okay. Lori's got it, and that's the important part. Does everyone understand what is being proposed?
We got it.
Okay. So there's a motion. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Wait. So let's clarify the motion.
All right.
Let me clean it up. The proposed motion, as I understand it, or as I said earlier, is to approve ordinance number 2025-01. That's referring to this in general, using the draft of the ordinance that is attached to this exhibit item under this agenda item under Exhibit B. In other words, the draft of the ordinance which contains both the general election and proposes a Proposition A to modify the charter, Section 5.05, concerning the city secretary. Sorry, yeah, Proposition A in Exhibit B.
That's
your alphabet soup right there.
Proposition B is the one that is the city secretary. Proposition A is the election.
This is why I was trying to clean up.
Exhibit, you have to go to 228.
Ignore the propositions, just focus on the exhibit. So Exhibit B is the proposed draft of the ordinance that the motion is.
Depending on.
Let me do the motion.
Do it.
Okay. Move to approve Ordinance 2025-01, calling a general election for the May 3, 2025 general election to elect a mayor and 2 council members, and also calling a special election to amend the city charter at Section 5.05 related to the office of the city secretary.
That's what I said.
So we have a motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
And we have a second. Any further discussion, or before anyone votes, does anyone need further clarification as to what they're voting on?
I think we're good.
Okay. There being no further discussion, all of those in favor? All of those against? Abstentions? By a vote of 3-2, the motion passes. Motion succeeds. All right. That brings us to item G2, discuss the progress of permits issued and work completed at 8401 Rio Grande Street. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and councilors, this agenda item is to discuss the completion of work related to the permits issued to the owner of 8401 Rio Grande. The property there has been undergoing extended renovations with multiple permits issued over the past 2 years for various improvements, including siding replacement and structural repairs. Our current code states that a building permit may be renewed for a period of time equal to that provided by the original permit. The fee for renewal of a permit shall be 2 times the fee for the original permit. The fee for each and every subsequent renewal of a permit after that first renewal shall be 4 times the fee for the original permit. It also states that a building permit shall terminate if the permitted work is not commenced within 60 days from its issuance or if the work is stopped for 60 days. So the location in question has 1 new permit application received on January 2nd of 2025 and 2 renewed permits. The permit renewal applications have been turned in timely, and they're as follows. Number 673, replacing siding on the house. The first permit is issued August 5th of 2022. Subsequent permits were issued on April 17th of 23, January 22nd of 24, and July 17th of 24. The initial inspection was passed on December 4, 23, and the permit is set to expire yesterday. For the other permit, 927, replacing the rotten wood, making minor window changes, and roughing the new front door. First permit was issued on December 16th of 22. Since then, additional permits were issued for July 10th of 23, December 11th of 23, June 10th of 24, and December 5th of 24. The permit expires on June 3rd of this year, but no inspections have been requested to date. In reviewing the construction permit regulations of Spring Valley Village, Hunters Creek Village, West University, and Bunker Hill, it's evidence that our current code is comparatively more stringent. If a construction permit expires in our jurisdiction, the renewal fee is double the original, and for each and everyone after that, fee increases to 4 times the original amount. In contrast, the aforementioned cities allow the building official to extend the permit for up to 2 years without mentioning additional fees. If the permit is not extended, applicants must reapply, presumably at the same rate. Additionally, these cities have similar or longer time frames for permit expiration compared to our regulations. Some options to encourage timely project completion are available. The first option could be maintaining the current approach where individuals pay 2 or 4 times the original permit fee to keep the permit active. The cost escalator could be increased to provide a greater financial incentive for project completion. For example, a siding permit costing $50 only amounts to $200 at 4 times the fee, whereas a building permit costing $4,000 would have a significant financial impact at 2 or 4 times the increase. Another option, option 2, would allow applicants to reapply for the permit at the current permit rate, or number 3, discontinue the renewal permits or the reapplication process, necessitating the initiation of the substandard structure process. Based on the 2 cases that have occurred within the past 7 years, the council's 2 cases of substandard process, the council has granted additional time to complete the work, which requires standard permit fees. Owners or representatives of the property have also been required to provide progress reports at each council meeting until the work was completed. Council tonight is discussing this item to address any concerns regarding the prolonged renovation timeline and advise staff of any necessary actions to ensure compliance and timely completion. We do have a representative from BBG here tonight as well who can answer some of those permitting questions that council might have.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind, like clarification on something, because it's not specific to Rio Grande House. Do you know why, or do you even have a guess as to why we seem to have the problem with it taking, like when people, like there's a house, everybody knows in Jersey Village it took 4 to 5 years to complete. So, but when you don't typically see those in a lot of these other neighborhoods, why are we seeing it? Do we know, what are we doing differently that's like either allowing this to happen or setting us up to happen? I'm just trying to understand.
First off, we're not unique. Every city has this type of issue. We're not the only ones that just have a house under construction for a long period of time. Why do we have this issue? Some reasons we've heard. They get into lawsuits with their contractors, material delays, legal issues, changes in personal situations of the people buying or building the house. If they get divorced or whatever, we've heard the whole gamut of reasons as to why somebody might say the work couldn't be completed on time. So there's a wide variety of reasons for that, and we are certainly not the only ones that have this issue.
Other than raising the renewal rates and calling it a substandard structure, there's no other legal action that we can take to force them to complete the projects. Is that correct? I mean,
I was thinking the same thing. So if let's say we did okay, this is a substandard structure, and they had to report and all that. If they couldn't or didn't want to do it, or for whatever the reason was, there's really not much after that council can do, right?
Right, assuming they haven't left whatever work has been done in an unsafe condition, then no, I think you're limited in terms of what you can do.
It's not like you can take a lien out on the property, and it's not like you can take ownership of the property, and it's not like you can finish it for them and bill them for the cost of the repairs. Our hands are tied.
Sorry, that was real loud. If we just give a real example of the siding on the house, the first was $50, then the second would be double, $100, 4 times the fee was $200. So this 3-year delay only cost $550 over the 3 years, which, there's not a lot of financial incentive for you to really kind of, and it just makes, in my opinion, the homeowner a little bit more, I guess, not educated is the right word, but thought out and planned. Like, if I'm going to do this project, I know I need to have this much in revenue ready. I need to have this in line. And I think it puts a little bit more of responsibility on them at the cost of having a house undone for 3 years is a lot of property value impact. Definitely not $550 worth of property value impact. I don't know about the safety really of the neighborhood, but I feel like this is a strong way to track the status of construction on a very objective level, ensure consistent standards. Like, we don't have an HOA, so I agree. This is one way that we can really kind of put it in our court, and we've seen the positivity of this in just right now with our substandard. And how nice has that been to every month feel like we have a say in how our community looks? And the response from them has been collaborative and positive, and the response from the community has been collaborative and positive.
But you're dealing with a corporate organization that has financial backing. You're not dealing with a personal entity that may or may not have financial backing. That's why we're. How long did it take to get that one substandard house that had a hole in the roof and?
With the fire.
Yeah, the garage was. We had to have someone walk through the house, and
what even happens if you declare a
unsound.
house that way? What is it? What do you even do? Even though you tell them fix it, what's left?
Short of tearing it down, and you can't legally tell them to tear it down.
Remind me on the substandard structure. Our legal authority. What is required for a structure to be deemed substandard?
The shortest way to explain it is unsafe condition, and whether framing falls into that. I wouldn't know. Frankly, I'd leave it to the building official, because that criteria is going to depend on A, what's in the ordinance, and B, how that ordinance is interpreted.
So in other words, if it's solely aesthetics, then that's probably a no-go.
That's correct.
Can we ask the building official to come up, Representative?
Sure. We're running out of ideas. Maybe you have some.
I was just on your thoughts with your expertise. Like, what do you see that works? What do you see that doesn't work?
So, legal made the easiest explanation. A substandard structure is an unsafe structure. So if a tree fell on the house and the roof can be repaired and the windows can be replaced, that is not typically a substandard structure. There's been a fire and an engineer has been engaged and feels that the frame is damaged beyond repair and cannot be repaired, then you can get into substandard. So the house that's in question has siding issues, has roof repairs, has windows that are missing, door frames. Those are all cosmetic without accessing the inside of the property and really digging into what else is going on that we can't see from the street. Initial pass, I don't think it's going to pass the smell test for a substandard.
Now, this may not be the case with this particular property, but I know some properties in the city do have deed restrictions on them. Does that provide us additional options if it had deed restrictions? Can the city enforce those in a way that provides us some additional powers?
It would provide an additional option for someone to remedy that, but it wouldn't be the city. The city doesn't have any authority, generally speaking, to enforce deed restrictions.
Okay, so if there's not a homeowners association that has the authority, then they might as well not be there.
That's right.
Okay, never mind. Okay, well.
Any other advice or feedback?
Unfortunately, in this circumstance, y'all have a pretty hefty ordinance in place with the 4-time fee after the initial one. I mean, that's really it, other than every 180 days trying to go over and knock on the door and saying your permit's expired, go apply again. But I don't.
And that could be a disincentive too, because if they don't have it, then a house just continues to sit without a permit.
Right.
And they don't move forward with any work.
Right.
I don't like any of the options.
That's where you wish you had an HOA with deed restrictions.
No,
because you're right. Even when it's when it's substandard, like that process of making a house substandard is lengthy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's only aesthetics, then it's not substandard. I mean, by the definition of that statute, I think you nailed it on the head when you said people, when they moved. I know we looked at it and said, "Oh, look, it's a city and it doesn't have an HOA. Let's do it." Unfortunately, it cuts both ways. So, we'll just. I think so. The good news is the homeowner. I guess was this just an informal outreach to the homeowner that was okay? So council was forwarded an email where the homeowner did detail sort of their plans to move forward. Hopefully, we can continue through just the hey, how's it going kind of informal process to encourage him to continue to make progress on that. And that seems to be what the best we can hope for at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's probably with this particular home, but also moving forward with other places where there's blight, for not the legal term, but just poor aesthetics. How's that? Is open up that communication channel between our building officials and our staff and the homeowner or the person responsible, and just say, we want to know what's going. Just give us updates, and they're under no obligation to do so. But it with the communication, and it gives them whereabouts and opens up a conversation. Whereas it may not slip further, and it may encourage them to move faster at that end.
Like I said, I wasn't here for last meeting, but Lori informed me a citizen comment was the initial volley for this being on the agenda, which is awesome. So maybe that is the path of least resistance, just putting it as a discussion item like we're having, bringing awareness and just saying, hey guys, what's going on? I mean, that seems like the only really real...
Yes.
And it seemed receptive because he emailed us back. Go, Connie, tell us.
But there are several that we would need to
I would be a little mortified if my address ended up on a city agenda. A little.
Really?
I have mixed feelings about this being a discussion because it sounds like we really don't have any control over it anyway. And I always, and this is just me, somebody's lawn doesn't look great, their painting is kind of chipped, whatever the case may be, ultimately, as a neighbor, I'd like to give a little grace. Now, I did look at the dates of the permits. I get it. I do. And I know across the street from you there was quite a bit of construction for a long time. So I understand the nuisance of it all, maybe, but...
I'd agree. I mean, we do have some codes. I don't know if there's code violations here that could be enforced, if there's other things that... And maybe that's an avenue that we look at as a whole, is, looking at code. I think that the best is, the word I've heard is collaborative. And if there's ways we can work with homeowners, or I know we can't direct them to specific contractors or whatnot, but communication seems to resolve a lot of issues.
extend a little grace, understanding. We don't know what someone's going through.
And I'm not sure how it got on the specific agenda, but if somebody made a public comment about paint, I'm not sure that any of us would be like, hey, put that on the agenda. But it's one of the having no HOA has a lot of perks. And then, like you said, unforeseen circumstances with materials. I mean, like we've had that.
I'd like to go on the record, no HOA. No HOA. I think we're doing just fine.
Agree.
This is one house.
Firm, no HOA. More perks.
So it sounds like the consensus of council is just keep communicating with them, and hopefully they'll come around. So unless anyone else has anything further on this, I think we can move to the next agenda item. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
That brings us to item G3, consider ordinance 2025-02, amending the Communications and Fire Department budgets for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, in an amount not to exceed $78,706 by decreasing line items 123-3001 and 123-3055, and transferring those funds to increase line item 125-5515, consulting services, and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents with Texas Emergency Communications Center concerning fire dispatch services. Mark Bitts, Fire Chief.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This agenda requests the transfer of funds previously allocated for the peak dispatch position from the communications divisions to the fire department, and seeks authorization for the city manager to enter into an agreement with Texas Emergency Communications Center, TECC, for fire and EMS dispatching services. The total funding in fiscal year 25 budget for the peak position is $98,818, including that included salaries and benefits. We are requesting the transfer of $78,706. In recent years, we have faced multiple challenges in dispatch operations affecting both the police and fire departments. These challenges include, but are not fully encompassing, misdirected calls and delays in dispatching due to the complexity of managing both divisions within a single center. For the past 16 years, the fire department has overseen the dispatch center. With the recent retirement of the communications supervisor, and given that the overwhelming majority of dispatch workload is related to police services, effective January 4th, the police department assumed responsibility for overseeing the dispatch center. This discussion to outsource fire and EMS dispatching began in July 2024. During this process, staff from several levels have been involved in the discussion on this, from the city manager, the fire chief, to the assistant fire chief and our captains, from the police chief and his lieutenants, to the dispatchers and the former dispatch supervisor. All of these stakeholders were in agreement that this is the best option for us. The fire department has researched outsourcing fire and EMS dispatch to independent centers in the Houston area and recommends partnering with TECC. TECC currently serves 5 fire departments and handles over 30,000 fire and EMS calls annually to our 2,000. Their dispatchers are specifically trained in fire and EMS protocols, and they meet the national standards of dispatching calls within 60 seconds 90% of the time. In contrast, our current average dispatch time here in Jersey Village for fire and EMS is approximately 4 minutes. When a person in Jersey Village calls 911, the phone call will be answered by our communications department. They will ask for the location first. Once identified, the call exists in Jersey Village. The caller will be asked if they need police, fire, or EMS. If they need fire or EMS, the dispatcher will transfer that call to TECC, and that will be done within a few seconds. TECC uses an automated dispatch system that enhances efficiency and reduces human error. As calls are received, their dispatchers gather the information, and the system will automatically begin the process of automated dispatch, dispatching the correct units promptly to the correct address while the dispatcher continues gathering the information. Our current CAD system does not allow for automated dispatching. There is a one-time implementation fee in the amount of $21,106. This fee covers the cost of system setup, radios, radio programming, and integration. Ongoing costs will be $30 per call, with a payment on a quarterly basis, with an estimated total annual cost of $57,600 based on our 2024 fire department call volume data. Contracting with TECC for fire and EMS dispatch offers several benefits. These include dedicated police dispatch. Jersey Village dispatchers will focus exclusively on police activities, improving response times and efficiency during major incidents for the police department. It will reduce human error. TECC's automated system ensures that fire and EMS calls are dispatched correctly and properly, minimizing the risk of miscommunication and delays. A cost savings. Outsourcing eliminates the need for ongoing certifications and the high cost of maintaining fire and EMS related software. Dedicated fire and EMS dispatchers. During normal operations, if there is an active large-scale or major fire or EMS incident, TECC dedicates a dispatcher to that incident. The assigned dispatcher no longer focuses on taking and dispatching other calls, but focuses directly on the critical safety of our firefighters and the citizens we serve. Full Responder 360 integration. They use a software program called Responder 360 that all of the area fire departments use. We use this program for pre-incident planning, hydrant mapping, AVL for our units to know where they are, and the majority of our mutual aid units to see where they are. We are currently not able to utilize it in its full capability. Moving to TECC will allow full integration with Responder 360 without any costly interface builds. Mutual aid dispatch efficiency. Currently, when mutual aid units are requested through Jersey Village dispatchers, they have to call multiple different dispatch centers to request units, which can be timely and are not always guaranteed. TECC already dispatches for 5 of our mutual aid partners, cutting down on critical dispatch and response times, better affecting services to our community. The fire chief and assistant fire chief will closely monitor the performance of the contract with TECC. We will hold regular meetings with the contractor to discuss any necessary changes or improvements. If it becomes necessary to terminate the contract, it can be done according with the terms outlined in the agreement. TECC's facility is equipped with redundant power and communication systems, ensuring continuity of dispatch services. In the extremely unlikely event of disruption, our dispatch department here, I've already spoken to Police Chief Keel on this, will be able to oversee duties for fire and EMS dispatching if something happens with TECC. While we deeply value the hard work of our dispatchers here in Jersey Village, we must prioritize the safety and efficiency for both our staff and the citizens we serve. By ensuring timely and accurate responses, we aim to provide the best possible outcomes in emergency situations. We believe that these changes will also enhance our dispatch operations here, and we are confident that the police department's focused oversight will lead to improvements in dispatching for their services. The packet includes a proposal from Texas Emergency Communications Center and the budget transfer request. The contract or agreement will be worked out between Jersey Village and TECC through our attorneys. Tonight we have Lori Broderick, who's the Executive Director of TECC here, if you have any questions for her. Myself, Chief Keel, Austin, and Assistant Chief Daly are also here to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Discussion amongst council.
I just have a quick question, or a statement, first of all. I am fully aware of the challenges you guys have had with dispatch, but I do have a question. At any point in time, would a resident call 911 and be put on hold or be put in a call queue, which happens right now in the city of Houston? If you call 911, there are times where people get put on hold. I'm just wanting to know how that would work for us.
It is very rare here in Jersey Village that has happened. I think in my time, 16 years overseeing fire dispatch, that has maybe happened one time.
I don't mean like in the past, I mean going forward.
Yeah.
So you don't
No, not
foresee
really.
that being a problem going forward with the
911,
fire?
if we're on multiple 911 calls, if it rings 2 or 3 times, it does get transferred back to Greater Harris County 911 and then on to Harris County, who will take the call. And Harris County right now is the one that transfers all their calls to TECC.
So, Chief, can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
If our phone's right now, we don't have a queue, but if
Lord.
it reaches a certain point.
So we can get it on record.
Once the phone rings a certain amount of times, our calls get routed to Cy-Fair. They are our backup, and we are Cy-Fair's backup, so that goes back and forth so they can take all fire and EMS calls as we can for them. They use the same protocols, all of those things, and then we have computer-aided systems to send each other those calls so they can be dispatched out.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
One, it's more curiosity than anything, and I'm not sure what to do with the information once you provide it. But have we ever? How often are JVFD and JVPD called to the same incident?
I mean, it's every motor vehicle incident. Especially if it's on the freeway, we send a blocking truck for them now, whether there's a person that's injured or not.
So the incident would go through dispatch, and then would
Yes,
y'all communicate?
our dispatch will take the initial call. If it's fire or EMS related, within 3 seconds they hit a button on the 911 console and it transfers the call over to TECC, where their dispatcher will take it.
Just work with me through this. So I call. There's been an accident on 290. I'm involved, and so our dispatch would.
They would say,
at least send an ambulance.
Yeah, Jersey Village 911, what's the location of your emergency? You would then tell me what that location is.
So it's
we'll say, what
Northwest
do
Freeway.
Right. Do you need police, fire, or EMS?
I've been in an accident, so I need EMS.
Okay. So they would take the call, continue to take the call for police, and have to transfer the rest of it to TECC for fire and EMS.
So our dispatch would dispatch police to the scene after they transfer the call to... Okay.
So in other words, the person they're talking to remains the same in that situation. It's just that the actual process of the logistics as far as sending units and all of that happens on the back end through the third party. Okay.
Right.
And it still would be a shorter time than if we had our dispatch doing it, correct? The 60 seconds versus the 4 minutes?
TECC averages, and she's shown us on their numbers, under 60 seconds 90% of the time, which is the national standard.
So we're not getting rid of any of our dispatchers? We're not...
No. We were going to get a peak position, if you recall, this year, which was the third person during hours of like noon to 2 a.m., and we would flex that based on the day. With the oversight and them just dispatching for police, we can take that funding now and move it towards outsourcing fire and EMS.
Was this your recommendation? Like this was something you brought?
Yes, I brought this to Austin back in summertime after dealing with many, many challenges.
And you're the expert.
I think one promising part about this is just looking at their website and looking at the map of the areas that they serve. Obviously, like a huge chunk of Northwest Harris County is served by them. So we're not dealing with an entity far away. We're dealing with somebody who really knows the area as well.
And they're able to get our mutual aid partners to us a lot faster than what we've experienced in the past.
I do like the idea that the Responder 360, is that what it's called? That they're going to have they would have full access to all of the capabilities it has without there being additional costs associated with that. I'm going to assume that is something that you guys would like to have.
Yes.
Okay.
It's under benefits.
I see it.
And being able to remove software, which it's always nice to have everything in one place or one less place.
Just to follow up on your question, Drew, as far as the logistics of it, that was one of my concerns also at first whenever we was first approached by this, is interoperability. After looking at it and listening to it, Chief Bitts' discussion and along with Jake Daly's discussion and I, from a standpoint on a major accident on the highway, of course, it's going to require police response along with fire and EMS. From the standpoint of us being able to provide the service to our citizens, one is once that call comes in, we can get PD en route to that call essentially pretty quickly. That's usually not the issue. A lot of times there's a lot more questions that go into follow-up questions and keeping the caller on the line for an extended period of time, especially whenever it comes to medical type stuff. And so that kind of delays those calls. And when you've got only 2 dispatchers in there and they're getting bombarded with 911 call after 911 call and they're getting the same information, obviously they have to go through every single one of those 911 calls. So it kind of helps eliminate or alleviate some of that stress in there so they can focus on what they're supposed to be doing. So from the standpoint of interoperability, we've talked about that. I think we'll still have our communications that we'll be able to still utilize our radios to talk to the fire engine, apparatus, ambulance, and stuff like that when we're out there on a scene. But from the standpoint of just getting good services out there to our community, and that was the main thing that I looked at it from at the end of the day was, at the end of the day, it's all about the best services that we can provide to our citizens. And so this platform seemed to be the best. And in regards to that peak position, kind of one of the things that I've looked at doing to restructure was reallocating some of the hours and the time that the communications supervisor will be in there now. And that will actually overlap and kind of still encompass that peak position time. So we're not really losing the manpower inside of the communications center. I think it's we're really gaining a lot more ground, I think, for a cheaper cost at the end of the day.
Any other questions or discussion on this item? No? All right.
It looks like the Northcom, which is the division that would be our dispatch, also does it. I mean, there's some area fire departments, but certainly Spring, I believe, has their own police force as well. So they work hand in hand. So there's already a model that, so I have every faith that you guys will be able to, any challenges to interoperability, you will conquer really quickly. So.
And just to let you know, the process, if approved tonight, it's about 2 to 3 months before they actually will be dispatching for us with integration, radio systems, contract getting it all in line. So.
Okay, great. Unless there's any further discussion, I would entertain a motion on this.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2025-02.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to item G4. Consider ordinance number 2025-03, finding that the structure at 15830 Northwest Freeway, Jersey Village, Texas 77040, legally described as TRS 16B and 18D, Fairview Gardens Annex Section 3, HCAD 0642480000039, has been repaired to the extent the property is not substandard and making other findings and provisions related thereto. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and councilors, this agenda item is in reference to the old Speedy Stop. Back in January of last year, we did a public hearing. That building was declared substandard. Since then, the owner has made progress. They've been here giving reports to council. Tonight, this item is for an ordinance finding that the structure has been repaired to the extent that the property is not substandard and making the other findings and provisions related thereto. We do have a representative from BBG here to answer any questions the council might have on that, but this ordinance here would close out that process.
Okay. I would imagine the biggest question that people are going to have is, has the property been fully inspected, and are you confident that it is no longer substandard?
So the property has been cleaned up. There has been paving work done to make it less unsightly. The shell building, which is what it was taken to, is complete. It can be secured. It is not a blight to the community, so it would not be substandard anymore at this stage. Hopefully now they can find a buyer and build it out and do something with it. So,
any other questions from council? Well, hopefully they get a tenant soon so it looks even better. It's certainly an improvement.
Yes.
Okay. I think that was it. Unless anyone else had any other questions, it was pretty straightforward. So unless anyone else had any further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-03.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a reluctant second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to mayor and council comments. I'm going to start down at this end with Mayor Pro Tem Mitchum.
Well, I just wanted to say many, many, many thanks and gratitude to Miss Lori over here. This would be her last city council meeting. She has served the city almost 2 decades. It's been a pleasure sitting next to her. She has answered so many questions and really educated all of us in different ways. So you will be so missed. But congratulations. What an exciting new next chapter. And Isabel, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Isabel. My bestie right here is right next to me. Also, this is Isabel's last city council meeting as well. Unfortunately, we don't, or I guess maybe fortunately, we don't have to explain as much over in the finance department. But these 2 besties are retiring together, which is also very fun.
All I can say is please take me with you. Please take me with you. I cannot count down enough days before retirement. I'm really excited for you both. Thank you so much for all that you've done in your time here. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you both. I've learned a lot from you both. And I'm dead serious about taking me with you. So make some room for me in your car, in your house. I'm coming.
Councilmember Watson.
Lori, I think I'm not alone when I say you held my hand during my first few months on council, and I feel sad actually for the next member that comes in and doesn't have you to hold their hand in going through this. And Isabel, you held our collective hands with every single budget meeting that we've been through. So you certainly will be missed. Your shoes will be filled, but not completely. And it's going to be tough for someone to follow up in both of your positions. So thank you both for your dedication to the city government, but more importantly to the community as a whole. Real quick, though, just wanted to recognize the city government for 2 great and prestigious recognitions. One was the Mayor Pro Tem mentioned the Parks Award for the berm, and recognized by the Houston Galveston Area Council. And then I learned this weekend Jersey Village PD has received an accreditation, a prestigious accreditation from the Texas Police Chiefs Association. So congratulations to all of our city staff that took part in all those endeavors. So thank you.
Councilmember Rossi.
You guys always steal my... Okay. I might have gotten the names wrong, but Stephanie, was it Detective Polster or Polster? Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Officer Ortiz and Sergeant Limerick. I know they're not in here. I texted you and told you I was very proud of you guys, Chief Keel, and the police department free recognition with the Texas Police Chiefs Association. Did I get that one right? A lot of letters. And, of course, as always, thank you to the police department and the fire department. Every day, hear you going up and down the road, and you guys do such a great job keeping us safe. And I'm the newest member on council, but I'm still going to be sad to see Miss Isabel and Miss Lori go. Thank you so much for your service to our city, and your retirement is well-deserved, and I'm so very happy for you guys. So thank you. And thank you for being so nice to me. You held my hand, too.
Councilmember McCray.
I'd like to echo everybody's sentiments. Isabel and Lori, guys, thank you so much for everything. I know that Isabella has explained multiple things to me over the last bit of time, and Lori explains much to me repeatedly. So, as much as she likes that. But she does great, and I know that anybody that's come through council has appreciated that and everything that you do. And I know you're going to be very happy to stop having to type when people talk. It just makes me want to keep talking to see if you'll keep typing and then make la, 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 la. No, I'm just kidding. Now I want to see the minutes. But anyways, and congratulations to JVPD. Fantastic. Way to go, guys. Oh, and the golf course, by the way. High five on being having the best year ever, and clearly headed to beat that again this next year. I think that's awesome.
Well, I have to tell you that as much as I've enjoyed being mayor, one of the things that I did not like when I became mayor was that I had to move seats from sitting next to Lori to sitting over here. Yes, because there were many times where during meetings, it's just you kind of get a chance to commiserate over like a point that was made or a question that came up, or especially when I was new on council, there were many questions that I raised that were not entirely of my ingenuity, but instead Lori would ask, wait, what about this? And I'm like, I'm going to ask that question. So she helped me look a little bit more prepared early on than I was. So thank you, Lori, for everything you've done. I'm sure Courtney will do a fantastic job, but you will definitely be missed. And of course, Isabel, I cannot, for anyone who has never served on council, I cannot even begin to describe to you the Byzantine nature of budgets and how difficult it can be to sort your way through it and figure out exactly what's going on. Isabel, you guided us through that process in a way that I think the fact that we have come so far in terms of how quickly we're able to get through the budget, how efficiently we're able to get through the budget, and to better understand what it is we're looking at is a credit to you. So thank you so much for helping to make that happen. And again, whoever comes in and steps into your shoes, good luck. They'll have to deal with this motley crew and trying to make sure that we can continue to understand the budget as well as we have. So thank you so much. So those are all of the comments I have. We are going to go ahead and move into executive session. City Council is now going to retire to a closed session at 8:42 p.m. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, Section 551.071, consultations with attorney, and Section 551.074, personnel matters. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and Section 551.071, consultations with attorney, a closed meeting to deliberate the potential and possible purchase, exchange, sale, or value of real property. And item 2, pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.074, conducting an executive session in order to deliberate the appointment of public officers to the Board of Adjustment. We will return to open session and continue with the remainder of tonight's agenda after the closed session deliberations are concluded. The closed session was adjourned at 9:07 p.m. and no official action or vote was conducted during the closed session. Let's see, that brings us to, on L1, discuss and take appropriate action on items discussed in the executive session regarding the potential and possible purchase, exchange, sale, or value of real property. My understanding is there's no action to be taken.
Correct.
So that brings us to L2, consider resolution number 2025-04, appointing a vice chair for the Board of Adjustment. My understanding from the discussion in the executive session is that the proposed motion would be to approve resolution number 2025-04, naming Scott McCarthy as vice chair for the Board of Adjustment. If that is everyone's understanding, I would entertain that motion at this time.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously, which brings us to adjournment. Meeting adjourned.